everyone. Welcome to the Brew Market podcast. I'm your host, Rakshit, and today we have a very special guest. He is one of the most brilliant minds I've come across, at the same time, an extremely humble and friendly person. He's an angel investor and the CEO of FAAD Network. It's none other than Aditya Arora. Welcome to the podcast, man. How are you?
Thanks, Rakshit, for having me. All good. So excited for this conversation and finally so excited to do this with you.
Yeah. Same, man. Same. I remember this thing was that this thing when I came across your profile and everything, I was like, okay, yeah, someday I just want to have a conversation with you. Because even initially also I pinged you asking if you want to be a part of the creators program and everything. And that's when I realized, oh, acha, this thing, another of my colleague was already in talks with you. I was like, okay, damn it, I missed that. But yeah, always want to have a conversation with you. I'm glad that's happening today.
Me too. Excited. Let's go.
Yeah. So to the viewers who don't know you, let's just start off with just tell us about yourself and your journey. You've had some crazy journey. So let's just get into that.
Absolutely. So, hello everyone. My name is Aditya. Right now I'm heading a VC firm by the name of FAAD, which Rakshit already told. As funky as the name sounds, our jobs are as exciting. We invest in early stage companies, probably startups which are growing, which are tech oriented and have a potential to scale. And how we do it is we put in our own capital, and of course we have about 1,200 investors whose portfolio we manage. So I head that company as CEO and kind of manage operations and look at, of course, the entire day-to-day workings of it. Apart from that, of course, I very active on social media, properly known as the FAAD guy. So I create content around startups, around businesses. And that's a quick one about me. My journey, I started at the age of 19, being the CEO at 21. And
how do you get into the space? Because I know that you come from an engineering background, right? Then how did you move into the startup space and VC investments and all these things?
Got it. So I come from the commerce background. For me, class 10 science was tough. So I realized engineering is not for me at all.
Okay.
Because if you find class 10 science tough, you can't take a physics chemistry in class 11. So I was pretty much sorted that I'll go towards, of course, commerce. So always had this inclination towards startups. Startups for me was the definition of doing something which is far from the ordinary, right? Something which separates you from what the rest of the crowd is doing, because it's not considered as a trendy, cool, or a sexy option. So when I went to a B school, that's the reason I went to a B school in undergrad, because I wanted to explore about startups. But as with every B schools in India, you realize that hardly anyone does business there, right? And you need to go out there and get your hands dirty yourselves to do that. So just took the stride, right, and started working on a few ideas. So I remember my other friends in Delhi University who were of course building something. Kind of got together with them. First idea was around hyper local grocery delivery, which of course the likes of Zepto are doing it now, right? So you wanted to enter in the residentials and households and provide them grocery about 4-5 years back. So experimented with that, then started conceptualizing a youth marketing company. Since I had a good brand name on, of course, in college and of course around DU circles, wanted to have a youth marketing company where we can help brands to mobilize youth to get app engagements, app downloads, and all this. Right. But couldn't even continue with that. So was kind of figuring out multiple things, and that's when FAAD came into the picture to hire interns from the college, and I realized that I think one of the best ways to work with a lot of youngsters is to probably work with FAAD and sort of help them cover their stories. So FAAD was a media company back then, right? So we started out creating content for startup entrepreneurs, covering them. So that was my job. I was interviewing people like this, and then that's when I heard the stories of more and more people. I realized that startups is something way more exciting, man. I just got to do it.
And then how did this happen? You joined FAAD as an intern, and then you became a CEO in 6 months. How did that happen? Like, I mean, what really happened then? Like, what's the story?
Yeah, it's a crazy story.
Yeah.
Of course, I think when FAAD, I joined as an intern, I was the first, you can say, the employee in the company, right?
Mhm.
FAAD was just about 4 or 5 months old. And we were still figuring out what do we want to do ahead with this. We had a trendy, cool name.
Yeah.
Still, I think we weren't sure of what to do with that, right? So, I work very closely with both of my partners, of course, who are now, of course, co-founders.
Mhm.
And we grew together in a small setup. We used to have, of course, lunches together. And since that was
Mhm.
a struggling time for all of us, right? No money and practically, of course, living off your own expenses.
Yeah.
It brought all of us together in one single room, right? Where kind of the trust and transparency grew. And then we decided that let's go out in the public and let's do a lot of events, let's host
Yeah.
networking events, let's meet startup founders.
Mhm.
That's when I started hosting all of these. Since
Yeah.
I was
Mhm.
good with, of course, people, I was good with speaking, right? So
Yeah.
I started doing all of that. And then
Okay.
after my internship, I was working part time. In the next about 6 or 7 months, I hosted about 50 events in about seven
Wow.
different cities of India, right?
Yeah.
So that's what gave me the exposure, and that's what also instilled
Uh-huh.
confidence in my partners that, okay, this is
And
the
that's how
guy.
the name also stuck, the fart guy.
Absolutely, that's how people used to call, "Arey, this is the FAAD guy. Arey, FAAD
Yeah.
wala ja." Right? And that's when
Yeah.
I realized that FAAD guy has become like not just like a passing remark, but
Yeah.
has become, let's say, an acronym wherever I go.
uh,
So that's when I counted a term. Now I've taken an IP for it.
wow.
uh,
And how
so
things changed, right?
yeah, how things have changed. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think they took a plunge in me that, okay, since it's a small team, we have to go ahead.
Mhm.
We need someone with us. And uh, they said that let's make you the CEO of the company. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
2018, I was made the CEO. 2019, we shifted to investments. And
How is it for you, like personally? Like, because 2018, 2019 is when you were like, say, early 20s, right? Like around 21, 22-year old. So, or like 23 maybe. So how is that? Like, how did you as a 21, 23-year old, like even like think like, were you having that imposter syndrome, or were you like, will I be able to take this up? Like, what were your thoughts? I just want to understand that.
got it. So, and I think now I'm reliving that time because there was so much happening then. And whenever, of course, I'm thinking to answer this, the kind of memories come to the mind. But
Mhm.
for me, the challenge was, Rakshit, that you don't know anything about the industry, right? VC
Mhm.
industry is something where people say that if you don't have gray hair, you're not welcome,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I had all of them which were black, right?
Yeah.
So I was not sure as to how would I take this up. And the
Uh-huh.
challenge was that investment is a very slow process, right? You pick up a company, then you evaluate it, then you wait for the investors
Mhm.
meeting, and then documentation is another hassle altogether.
Yeah.
So how to cut that time, right? You can't just sit on for 6 months waiting that you will fund a company and then your revenues also go for a toss.
Hmm.
So the first task was to bring some innovation in this whole setup so that we
Okay.
can fund more companies and we on the same time learn about startup ecosystem, learn
Uh-huh.
about these jargons like monthly active users, daily active
Mhm.
users,
Yeah.
customer acquisition cost, right? Which I was
Mhm.
not aware about.
Yeah.
So learn about all of that and then execute it, right?
Mhm.
Talk to people, talk to investors, talk to startups, get them on
Yeah.
a common platform together. So
Mhm.
the challenge was that on how to do that very, very efficiently and quickly.
Got it. Got it. Perfect. And okay, so another thing, like you were the youngest Padma Shri nominee. And how did that happen? And like, where were you when you got that news itself? Like, what was going on in your head?
Very fascinating story. So,
Yeah.
of course, as I told you, the reason I started entrepreneurship was to help a lot of young people. And when I say young people, I'm a bit biased, but I think that India is a young, youth-driven country. So, I personally, that's
Um,
a mission that I want. lot of people from colleges, from schools, from, of course, their early years of like corporate experience to come and start their own passion, right? Even if it is startups or not startups.
Yeah.
So I realized that how can I actually reach out to more people, right? And that's when I figured out that Delhi government was trying to do something around entrepreneurship, right? So they were trying to build up a setup where entrepreneurship could be taught in schools and colleges.
Okay.
Delhi government already had a happiness curriculum where you are taught about happiness, you're taught about well-being and others. It was already live in schools, in all the Delhi government schools, and picked off really, really well, right?
Yeah.
So after that, the consensus was, let's teach something around entrepreneurship in education.
Okay.
And that's when I went with them. They did an open seminar to gather some ideas. I contacted them through something and just went into that webinar, talked to the team that this is what I want to do, right? And just ended up creating that whole structure as well. And then, and when we decided we'll teach it through failures, right? We'll not teach entrepreneurship through success stories, right? Because success is cheap and it's available on YouTube without a premium, right?
Yeah.
So we decided, let's teach it through failure stories. So once we had that in place, I was the one who started going to all of these schools and started talking about failures and getting all of these entrepreneurs in that place. So became like an ambassador, represented the Delhi government at a lot of business events, right? That's how it happened. As in, I just hung on to them and just sort of started to visit schools and doing it. And later they realized that, of course, I've done something. They kind of recommended it to the same thing.
And where were you, like, for the first time when you heard this news that you've been nominated? What were you doing back then at that time?
I think I was probably sleeping, catching some sleep. And when I got this, of course, internal notification, I was very, very, of course, excited and exuberant. Your work do speak for itself. I'm glad that it's coming up well now. The whole scheme is turning up really well, and in fact, just taught something exciting with them. So a lot of exciting news.
What do you teach?
So now what I'm teaching is a lot of basic 2-3 minute explainer videos on concepts around startups. So I'm teaching concepts like MVP, prototyping to all these government school students. And so excited that it would go out to all the students from class 6 to class 12. So really.
Is that what you're doing, like, on your YouTube channel as well? Like, I saw that you had like these challenges and everything. Are you sharing those?
YouTube is a bit more, I would say, a bit more for the intellectual audience, because, of course, I have to be, when I speak about YouTube, I have to be a bit more formalized. But here, scripting this was a new exciting thing, because you're talking to students, right? And you're explaining MVP to them. For them, MVP is most valuable player. So I have to explain minimum viable proposition to them. It was exciting, using a lot of examples, making it as simple as a story, shooting with them.
Wow, exciting, dude. Then, okay, now let's move into like your expertise, your niche, like startups and everything. I'd like to know, like, so you worked in the startup ecosystem in India like for a very long time. How is the ecosystem in India different from what it is in other countries like the US? What do you think?
See, US is a far more mature ecosystem, right? If we talk about US, the advent of it can be traced back to, let's say, a Silicon Valley, right? The decorated place, right? Which is probably a favorite in every web series, right? So that came, like, the advent of it came in 1960s and 70s, right? Of course, the whole production of semiconductor chips and everything. That's a very, very age-old kind of a concept. Silicon Valley has not come in overnight, right? But in India, if you look at the rise of startup ecosystem, it's probably happened after 2013 and 14, where Flipkarts, of course, have gone ahead and probably raised international capital, international capital for the first time. Or companies started getting listed for the first time post 2012 and 13. After the dot-com sort of burst in 2007-8, right? After that, after the Y2K bug, India has seen a lot of entrepreneurs from US coming to India and building great companies here.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why the whole difference is just the maturity. Nothing around that. There are more there are more investors. There are more startups in US. There is much more education around angel investing, around VC investing, around how a venture fund makes money. So all of that is much more advanced in progress.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of time in India. If you look at, we're already third largest ecosystem. So
yeah,
I think we're gonna be top notch with America in the next, I think, 20 years or so.
Yeah. And you mentioned about like the education and stuff, right? Like in the US. How do you see that in India? How do you see that playing out in India? I know you mentioned like what you're doing with the Delhi government in schools, but that's just like one off, right? Like when you say India at large, do you see the education is on par or like at least getting there? Or do you see it'll take a long time for us to even get there?
You see, if you look at entrepreneurship, right? Firstly, the whole perception of it is very backwards in India as compared to US.
Yeah.
In US, you are respected if you are actually working on something of your own, right?
Yeah.
In India, it's like, nahi chal raha hoga to kar raha hai. It's more like that. Last option hoga uske paas. So, that's why since you've already put it at a backstanding pedestal, you don't learn about it. Look at any topic, right? Look at whatever topics, backward topics in India, you would never find that education, right? But here, of course, in US, you would find. So I think first the conception has to change. And after that, I think the mentality and the whole education is readily available. Resources are available.
Do you think?
But yeah, you need people to drive, to be the teachers and mentors. We have more students than teachers.
Yeah.
That's a mismatch.
Do you think these shows like Shark Tank and all is impacting? Because I heard that, people are getting like, I mean, especially parents and all are like at least their mindset is changing because of shows like Shark Tank and everything when it's come in India. What do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. I think Shark Tank and a few other shows have come up as well, of course, which are driving this change. But primarily, if you look at Rakshit, Shark Tank is for somebody who's listening to startups for the first time. Who's probably not heard of startups at all before.
Yeah.
At all. It's like he or she's like the beginner of beginners, right? So Shark Tank is made for audience like that. That's why they have these filler videos where they explain what a customer acquisition cost is, what's the dilution, valuation, and everything. Right? But frantically, that's not practical knowledge entirely as well.
Yeah.
And nothing against Shark Tank, but people, when they hear that somebody's selling off their company for as low as 15, 20, 25 lakhs for 50, 60%, right?
Yeah.
People have this assumption that that's fine. That's ordinary to do so. But that's not how it works in the truest sense. Somebody pitched to me and after 10 minutes they said, is it a pass or is it a yes? Like, it's not a Shark Tank, right? I'm not on TV. I have to say yes to you right now and cut a check.
Yeah. So, I know. And I heard that like most of these even deals also like don't even pan through. Right, like
absolutely,
50% of them don't. I heard
absolutely right. I made a reel on it. My only reel, which has formally gone into 1 million views, was just this: that not every deal on Shark Tank gets funded, even if you're seeing it on TV. Because after the TV round, there's a due diligence of these companies. And if you fail there, man, nobody's going to invest in a company which hasn't paid taxes and is defaulting for the last 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like you can say whatever you want and you can get the deal on the show, but then what happens after that is like you never know. Like people don't even talk about it.
Right? Absolutely.
Yeah. So, what are some of the industries that you see in India like that have the potential? Like, what are the few industries or companies that you would bet on in the coming years?
Okay. I think very interesting question, and it keeps on changing with time because there's so many industries, so many regulations, right?
Yeah.
Everything keeps on happening very, very quickly. But I think for us, the top 3 sectors that I'm looking at is one is gaming, which I'm very positive towards. I kind of have a hunch that it will definitely grow. A lot of regulations are expected to come, but I think that's good for the sector because it's getting organized in some way, right?
Yeah. I was
And now,
working in a gaming company before this, like before my
wow,
role. So I know like gaming's big, and especially there are so many indie gaming studios coming up in India right now.
absolutely.
There is so much potential, and like I have so many friends also working in in this sector. So I know, yeah, what are you talking about?
Awesome. Yeah. So even we've invested in three companies. In fact,
Uh-huh.
the first gaming company that I invested in was from a Twitter space that I did.
Wow.
So much for content.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are very excited towards gaming. I think that's one space. Second thing that I'm looking at very, very closely is climate tech.
Mhm.
Because now is when you're seeing a lot of hue and cry about climate sense in a real sense.
Mhm.
A lot of players are also coming up from India. We haven't
Mhm.
seen a climate tech unicorn from India.
Yeah.
We've seen SMEs and big IPO listed companies, but I
Mhm.
think a startup unicorn is still in the making.
Yeah.
So we have, of course, we've invested in climate tech, but openly looking at more companies in that space, in around the
Mhm.
renewable and clean energy space primarily.
Got it.
That's one thing. And last sector that we are looking at, I think, is a sector of what do you call it? I think it's not. It's a more decentralized sector. Matlab, I'm not
Mhm.
talking specifically Web3 or crypto
Okay.
in that sense.
Mhm.
These are all digital native. But when I talk about decentralized, it's anything that's giving ownership in the
Blockchain.
hands of users. Yeah,
Okay.
blockchain or call it smart chain or whatever. Right.
Mhm.
Um, Giving more authority in the hands of users to make their
Mhm.
own decisions,
Yeah.
right? I think that is there rather than being like a central authority and telling, okay, buy this
Mhm.
house or okay, like, get this loan.
Do you
I
think
think
that has potential in India specifically?
think so in some sense.
Mhm.
Longer potential. That's why I've
Mhm.
listed this in the last
Yeah.
because it has to come with a customer behavior change.
Exactly. Yeah.
First, firstly, you have to settle, like you have to move beyond the mentality of settling your EMIs. Once you settle your EMIs, then only you can desire of something, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I see that aspirational class coming up
Uh huh.
where you are focusing more on the experience part of it than the ownership part.
Uh-huh. No, I mean, I'm just thinking out loud. Like, I mean, there are the percentage of Indians investing in stocks and everything itself is a
Yeah,
very small number.
very.
And when we talk about like decentralized network, it's an alien thing
Yeah.
in other countries itself, and in India, it's like another beast. So I was just like thinking, like, is it that big? Because I have a few friends who are into the space and like who are like doing a few things, but they tell me the struggle and I
It
know
is.
how bad it is.
It is. In fact, I'm going to Goa for a Web3 meetup only.
Acha, okay.
This
Uh-huh.
a residency program, right? Where all the creators, everyone is coming from outside and staying at one house for
Uh-huh.
4 days,
Wow.
right?
Okay.
So as a VC, the best part is I can be wrong 100% of the times as well. I have to be just right some percent of right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can be wrong in this space, but I think yeah, it's worth taking a bet.
Yeah, of course. Then what do you think about the edtech space in India right now? Like, I mean, there's so many layoffs and then Byju's and all the news that's happening. It even like, although they are laying off so many people and they're going under loss, they recently raised 300 million and they are going crazy. Like, and even Byju even came out and he said that was that like we cannot make and we're not looking at making profits, I guess.
Yeah,
So what do you
yeah.
think about this whole fiasco that's happening, the edtech in India right now?
Uh, Personally, I think edtech is a space that I'm also an operator in some way. So I
Uh-huh.
look at it from a very different lens.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and edtech has been a core dominant sector for us, as in almost about 9 to 10 deals we have done just in edtech. So close to 20% of our portfolio comes from there.
Wow.
For me, edtech has like the standard notions of it is has moved beyond from education, right?
Mm-hmm.
EdTech has also become a very numbers oriented game
Mm-hmm.
because there's so many platforms, right? Now,
Yeah.
if you talk about Byju's, you can list out 10 other competitors of Byju's, right? And you can say the exact numbers of it because so much public data is available, right?
Uh-huh.
Matlab, information has become such a decentralized, of course, asymmetric thing, right? That parents also and students also can make better decisions by
Yeah.
seeing which is better. Right? So, Yeah, I think in some way the recession was due for edtech, because if you look at edtech, the round happened crazy.
Yeah.
So if let's say the first round is happening at X valuation, the next round happens at 7X easily,
Yeah.
even more than that. And it happens very, very quickly. Right. That's the thing about edtech, which no other space has.
Especially
right?
during the pandemic, right?
Especially during the pandemic, right? Because it is called as, we call it a network effect in a technical sense. But in edtech specifically, it grows crazy.
Yeah.
So essentially, edtech is gonna have some bit of recession, but very targeted or specific education platforms, which are, let's say, either building for a scale or either building for some sort of value addition.
Like an upgrade.
They may see some success, but test prep or let's say or typical coding, they are, at least we have said no to all of them in the last 3 months.
Yeah, because even I heard that Akash, Byju is planning to take Akash into this thing with that 1 billion IPO.
Yeah. So they acquired Akash for 1 billion and they're taking Akash IPO for 1 billion. So essentially what they're doing is they're covering the loss of the acquisition.
So I mean, do you think it has peaked? Do you think edtech has peaked and during the pandemic and now it's just going to go down, or do you think it can go back? Like, will it go back to the same peak that it had during the pandemic, or will it just come very close and not that high?
I think it has some sort of peaked as well. And see, if you are running a school and you say that you're a principal, right? And a teacher comes to you and says, parent comes to you and says, why did my child score so low? And you said, we taught him through Byju's courses. Right?
Yeah.
The immediate next reaction of a parent would be, I should send my student to Byju. Why am I sending to your school? Right. So schools also have that brunt because they have to up their infrastructure game.
Yeah.
They are charging lakhs of rupees in admission fees and God knows everything from parents.
Yeah.
So they also have an ambition to, of course, change their whole infrastructure. And with this whole accreditation thing becoming so strong for schools, the competition between schools is also getting more fierce.
Yeah.
So yes, schools will move away from the online platforms also a bit. In COVID, it was the necessity, but now it's not.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So the option choice has gone away. So yeah, I think some part of it would go away. But yeah, in India, every market you have such population, right, which is growing at 4 or 5% every year. You still have education which will never go in recession.
Yeah, right? Education is always going to be there, especially in India.
Especially, absolutely.
Yeah. So, what do you think about content creation as an industry for startups? What are your thoughts on that? Because there's so many people who are moving into that space now, and especially because of the pandemic, it's taken off, right? What do you think about that space as an industry?
The right time to ask this question, I think. So much is happening in the content industry, right?
Yeah.
Practically, see, all the content creators, I think, including me as well, right? When I speak for all of them, I'm including myself.
Yeah.
I was just thinking this thought and discussing because, of course, Instagram sort of did this blessing on all the creators, right?
Totally.
Because we got saved, right? Gave us a blessing and a boom, right? A blessing in terms of course, Reels paying you finally. And boom in terms of course, suspensions and sort of removing followers. So with Twitter, right? With the subscription finally becoming officially Elon Musk tweet.
Yeah. $8. First it was 20 and now it's 8. And then I don't know what's going to happen. And anybody can buy the blue tick.
Yeah. So imagine an Elon Musk clone account with this almost the same name with a blue tick, copying Elon Musk tweets and becoming Elon. That's such a crazy. I pay $8 for it if I have to. if I could be the next Elon Musk on Twitter. That's a thing. In fact, somebody asked on his tweet as well, and he was not able to answer. So that thing apart, content industry in a sense is dependent upon these platforms, right? Because the entire supply chain lies on these platforms.
Yeah.
If these platforms go through, you're not sure, right? Or if they become inaccessible to a certain set of creators, right? Then you face a backlash because, of course, you also work in this industry. You know how closely the creators are connected, right?
Yeah.
So So one is, I think creator economy is getting monetization, which is a good thing,
Yeah.
right? But the bad thing, or still the uncertain thing, is regarding the whole infrastructure sort of irregularities too.
Exactly.
Even SEBI's crackdown is yet to happen, right? Where they're saying that we are looking out for creators who are giving unsolicited financial advice, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Also,
yeah.
what do you think about Twitter as a platform right now with all these changes and with all this ruckus that's happening? People are leaving the platform, and even automotive industries also stop running ads on the platform. Like, what do you think about Twitter? Do you think Elon Musk is going to make Twitter a much stronger platform for creators, and Twitter is going to go up? Or do you think it's just a lot of noise as what Elon Musk usually does in general?
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
And I'm letting that sink in the literal sense. So for me, I think what the initial signs have shown that Elon has a task at hand. He's worried about the dropping surge of users and the active users in Twitter.
Yeah.
He is worried about the dropping monetizations of Twitter.
Money.
Right? Because Twitter's only monetization strategy was the
Ads.
billboard strategy, ads, right? And even Twitter ads are now becoming bit costly. Twitter ads the costliest to run. Yeah. And secondly, they are becoming inaccessible as well to some parts of the country as well, some parts of the world as well, right? So his first question to even Parag Agarwal before, of course, the firing him or of course him leaving the company was, how much did you do in the last week, right, to grow Twitter? So I don't think he's that worried about creators. That hasn't seen in his statements. He's never used the word creators even this one. I have only seen subscriptions, monetization, masochism, right? I have only seen those things. I haven't seen him talking about the content piece of. He's talking about the commercialization piece.
But do you think that will drive away people from the platform because of this thing, because of Twitter going more towards money, or that's that area?
I think yes, some part of it would already drive down. Because one thing, in fact, I was discussing with other creators is also after Elon has taken over, the engagement rates of creators has also affected massively.
Yeah.
It's, if you look at, well, personally for me, I have looked at it because now it's very hard to get on the trending section and to get your tweet viral out there. And just for me, I've seen with every damn creator out there, their engagement rates have dropped massively on Twitter. So we are all discussing what has happened all of a sudden. Our content has not become bad, or it's not that we are posting something alien, right? So I think yes, he has done that with something. So content creation is going to get, I think, even more tougher. With the bots also getting removed through and some bit of impurities to happen, I think engagement rates are also going to get affected.
Then
and
do you
particularly, I think particularly he hates my startups topic. That is something I've realized.
Why? Why do you think so?
Because when I was earlier creating content on tweeting on startups, I was literally getting high engagements every damn day.
Yeah, I know.
Right? But now it's been ipsy-tipsy. Yesterday, I got the highest engagement altogether on Twitter. But apart from that, it's been an ipsy-tipsy, right? If I don't talk about IITs, I'm not getting engagement.
I think even this space, right? NFTs and crypto space, these tweets are doing you write whatever you want, you get a lot of engagement.
Absolutely. In NFTs, so you're getting more because the avatar on NFTs has also become live on Twitter. So the push is there. But on startups, so I think he's had a crackdown, because there was one survey question on, do you think that this startup space should be there on Twitter?
Wow.
And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why that was the survey. I answered yes, but I'm not sure about other people.
But then do you think this would mean other platforms will have an opportunity to lure these creators, Instagram, LinkedIn, and all the other places?
I think yes. I think Insta is now sort of going ahead and doing something. Meta has done a lot of is doing events now. Did a Creators Day in Bombay.
Yeah.
I think is doing one in Delhi as well.
Yeah.
Right. Spotify is also doing right.
Creator Day.
Spotify is also a crazy content platform. If you look at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Spotify is coming down hard. Who, if you look at it, and like we talk about all international platforms, who, if you look at from an India standpoint, who is also doing good, has done well. So alternative platforms are opening up, I think definitely. And I think TikTok, the talk is to get it someday back again. And if it comes, it's going to be an explosion again.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, I don't know about you, but then I personally find TikTok very cringe. But if it comes, it's going to explode, of course. Like, I mean,
of course, from the creator standpoint.
Yeah.
You find it cringe, even I find it cringe. But there are lakhs of people out there who enjoy
making money out of it also.
Yeah. We are the intellectual mass, but there is a generic mass out there.
I know. Yeah. And okay, what do you think about, like, I mean, with recession coming, how do you think the startup ecosystem, especially, how will it impact the startup ecosystem in particular?
Yeah, I think signs of it we're already seeing
with that
for us as well. We haven't gone ahead and invested in many companies as we did last year. Similarly to other VC funds as well. Their total number of investments this year is almost down by 70%, right, from last year. So recession is, I think some part of it is already coming through, but it's going to affect more in the later stage where you're raising more capital. Because a person who would invest at a later stage would also invest in a stock market as well. And since markets have turned bad, they would invest very conservatively in a startup.
Yeah.
Right. But for an early investor like us, we are investing out of our own balance sheets, right? So we can still make those adjustments here and there. But somebody who's taken, let's say, large money from, let's say, an NBFC or a bank or let's say a trust or whatever, a government institution, they would face the brunt of it. And that's why late stage capital is almost down by 40-50% in India. But early stage is still picking up. So now we are getting back on track a bit. But yeah, 2023, I think that is going to be an even tougher year than 2022.
What do you think about jobs and everything, like in this space? Like how much of an impact will jobs and careers and everything have in India?
Yeah, of course, see, everything is interlinked. So if a company is doing bad, right, the first thing they fire is the human resource, because that's a cost that's in your hand. You can't lower your marketing budgets in one day, right? Because you've already put that in marketing spends. But you can fire people in one day, of course, right? Ethically, you shouldn't, but of course, nobody stops you from doing that.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think yes, hiring has to, of course, go affected. But I think it's a balance of both. So people are getting fired, but also if you look at people going ahead and joining startups,
will
will
openings be there as much? Do you think so?
Not as much. I think it would be a bit disproportionate because for that to open, you need India to also produce more number of startups.
Yeah.
That rate is not, I think, picked up at that pace we wanted. It picked up from 2018 when government introduced certification of startups. Let's define what a startup is. But once you looked at 2018 to 19 to 20, you looked at the 3 years in comparison, it did well. But then after that, you looked at 2021, 22, 23. Personally, for me, it's staggering because it's hardly growing by 10% year on year, right? So yes, I think hiring will get affected since you need specialists now. You don't need generalists. Yeah. And yes, firing you can't stop it. That's an inevitable. So yeah, I think that's human resource is going to be a bit of a challenge. But if you have a talent, man, I think you'll go out there and kill it.
Of course. Yeah.
You can be the next Intern-cum-CEO. Yeah.
Yeah, you can be the next FAAD guy. So, I mean, like you've invested in multiple companies and you've exited multiple companies, right? So what were some of your key learnings and what is something that you would like to share to early stage entrepreneurs?
Got it. So one thing for me that I want to share with all the entrepreneurs out there is the entire bet is on founders, right? If I'm loving a time that I'm spending with a startup founder, I kind of ignore that what the space is, what numbers are, what revenue would be in 2025, because that just like made up maths, right? Maths can change overnight. So it's investing in the founder. So like go out there and like grind and hustle, right? When I say hustle, learn about the industry you are in, talk to founders, learn from their experiences.
What are some of the qualities that you look at? Like when you're mentioning about startup founders, like what are some of the qualities that you see? Okay, this is someone that I like.
I think the first one that I do is their understanding of whatever they are building. I think that's the most important thing. Second for me is team building. Even before, I would say most of things, team building comes in, because even let's say you are the best of knowledge, you have an IQ of let's say 110, or not even more than that, right? But if you can't build a team out there, you can't build a startup, right? So how do you build a team? How do you set the culture? Because we are talking just about retention, right? So how do you set the culture? How do you retain your people?
Yeah,
that's a critical component. That becomes important. And third thing for me is I think the confidence and body language. I'll tell you one crazy thing. So a lot of startup, like we follow this activity, and it's a hack, but I think I've revealed it already in public. Is whenever I go to a founder meeting, right? I set it up in a, like we said, we meet in a cafe or something, or in a hotel, whatever.
Yeah.
On another table, like we sit at a table. On another table is a man who's from my company only, right? Is a person from my company whose task is to just observe the body language of the other person sitting with me on the table, right? And then, like, I ask various questions. So I, of course, tell my volley of questions to them, right? So they are in sync with whatever the discussion is going on, right? So I ask my volley of questions and they observe, right? The exact body language, the movement of the feet, right? How much they do. Kind of things actually like sometimes play a role, because it tells a lot about where the founder is lying or where the founder is actually not confident about things. That's a hack that we follow. So for us, it's about the body language as well. If you're lying, you get caught up on it. That's a deal breaker for us.
And like most of the, like, I mean, now that you've revealed it in this, and I'm sure like in other places, like people come prepared. Have you seen that happen? They're like, someone's going to be sitting over here or here.
After I think I revealed it in one of the podcasts earlier, a founder came to me and like check the entire room. Are you with us? Are you with us? Are you with us? Are you with us? So it's kind of funny. But yeah, now of course they have a lot of course, with this content coming through, they have a lot of information about how investors look at companies. So they do come prepared. But I think we have to level up our game as well.
Exactly.
So we have to come up with new challenges every time. I'm not going to reveal the new challenge that we have.
No, of course. So which investment has been the best one for you so far? Like it's your favorite so far?
I think it's very hard to choose the best baby among like all the babies you have. I think the one that has like...
You always have your favorite child. Come on.
In terms of, I'll tell you, I'll not give you a diplomatic answer. I'll name two companies. One from the closeness of heart, because that was our first investment. It was a company called Clear Dekho, which was in lens, which was selling eyewear glasses to tier 2, tier 3 audience. We invested in them in 2017. Just recently, they did their first institutional level raise, Series A, right? Company has done tremendously well, gone ahead and raised capital from founders of Oyo, from so many other folks out there. From an emotional standard, that's a more emotional sort of investment for me. That's done crazily well. Clear Dekho. But if you look at the returns, I think I can't even lie about it. Everybody knows, right? It's Blue Smart for us, which is a cap company, which is a EV's first cap company. We invested $7 million in them in roughly around 2019, 2020. That company is now almost raised $250 million, right?
Wow.
Has become the second largest investment in EV space after Ola. So that is a company that has done crazily well.
Wow. Oh, I'm surprised Ather is not anywhere in this discussion.
Ather is, but hasn't raised a $250 million kind of. Ola Electric did $253 million. Ather hasn't done. Ather is still waiting for the next big round. Blue Smart is doing a 250 million.
Wow. Awesome. And is there any company that you regret? I'm sure there are some.
You put your no ownership children to an orphanage home.
Yeah.
Well, I'll not name the company, of course. That would be, but a company, of course, did not work out for us. We didn't invest a lot. It was more like a structured debt to the company, not more of an equity investment either. But of course, we could recover the debt also. So
what happened then? Like, I mean, like
it was a company in the tea franchisee space, where they were setting up QSRs, quick service restaurants, in tier 2, tier 3 cities where people can come up and actually consume tea and light snacks with it. Something what Chai Point is doing, Chai is doing, right? But at that point in time, I made a massive mistake. I thought that tea is such an easy business, but tea is such a hard business because on a 10 rupees tea, you don't earn anything, right? You have to sell almost 5-6 lakh cups of tea just to get to a break even where your cost meets your revenue.
So this other person that I work with, like Shashank, he has his own like this tea kind of business. It's called, and he's from a tier 2, tier 3 city like Dindigul in Tamil Nadu. So he has like some 2, and he's setting up his 3rd location now. It's called Sivasakti Foods, and they're doing like these tea and like small setup where you can come and you can have tea and you can have local food and everything. So I know like it's very hard.
Very hard. Very hard to build that business. I didn't do well,
Okay. So, and what are some of your 3 key learnings that you've had in your journey that you would like to share to startup founders?
Great. I think one is be very original. Like, don't, for the sake of investments, don't try to be something which you aren't, right? Don't fake it till make it, because that gets easily caught with investors, right? Be original. Even if it's not working out, tell us, right? That's one thing. Take the help. Sometimes investors help you. People think that investors are just like banks, right? They want their money back. It's not like that. We want to work with the founders. That's why we are investing in.
Yeah.
That's one thing. I think second thing is prevention is better than cure, right? Accept that, okay, this will not work out, and be like quick to say no to that, rather than waiting and hoping that this will work out. Because not only capital is involved, but the whole genesis, or let's say the whole structure of the company changes once a bad decision is taken. Right? And we've seen great companies with great capital getting shut with one bad decision, which they never got the time to reverse that.
Yeah.
So that's there. And I think third is talk to your customers. That's the biggest validation, right? Yeah. Whatever a VC is telling you is good, but a VC does not pay you for your products, or does not add to your revenue, right?
Yeah.
Right. So whatever customer is telling you, that is like God thing, right? You're building it for them.
Yeah.
Right. You're building it with our money, but for them. So essentially, you have to hear what they are telling, not we are telling every time. Right?
Totally.
So focus on your customers, spend time with them.
It's exactly like, I mean, it's not just validation, but you get to like understand so much about like your, like what you might be thinking, acha, like I am doing this, but then your customer might be thinking in a completely different way. So like as a marketer itself, like, I mean, the way you position your product, your messaging and everything, you can learn about so much just by talking to one person, like your customer.
Absolutely. There's a reason we say that customer is the king, right?
Yeah.
That's a quote that has stood the test of time, right? So I think focus on that.
Okay, now let's talk about content creation, since you've been doing that as well. So, I mean, has content you've been creating content for a very long time, right? From that FAAD show that you've had like long years ago. So what are your goals with respect to creating content? Like, what are you trying to do? Is it just personal branding, or like what's your goal?
Yeah. So for me, content creation was never in the picture, as I told you earlier as well. It was something which like, in COVID, I got the time and kind of realized that start creating content on startups, just creating some reels and everything, right? Reels came in back then, right, in around COVID. So that I started. But initially, for me, it was, I think, I started with Quora. So the old-fashioned way of creating content where I used to vent out my feelings.
I've seen that. Like when I was reading up about you, I saw your Quora as well. I was like, damn, you've been there from that time.
Yeah. So with Quora, then I started, like not a lot of people know, I was, Quora started doing a lot of meetups, right? We started doing it before Quora thought that let's do meetups, right? We started doing it in Delhi. We had done 35 meetups before Quora told that let's do a global meetup, right? So we did first ever global meetup, which was the most attended meetup, I think, in all of the world, right?
You did global meetup in Delhi?
So we did Quora did a global meetup in all parts of country at the same time. We did ours in Delhi.
Okay.
We had so we had almost 200 folks, 250 folks which came up. It like the scorching heat of Delhi. Yeah. Right. We did. So that's when I think I realized people, content creation, a lot of it, the genesis of it, my whole career started. And I took that to LinkedIn, right? Started creating, because for me, LinkedIn was my partners are okay. Create content on LinkedIn because that will help us get business.
Yeah.
That will help us get startups. Be active on LinkedIn. And I used to have, let's say, like a friendly battle with my partner ki who has how many followers. I think we all started with that. So I was always like adding people, seeing where I can create content, and that was already there, right? Of course, now though we've gone over that game. Now he does not ask how many are your followers. But that was the actual, like, the camaraderie vibe in me. And then when I was creating written content, which was doing decently well. I realized, let's take it to a video format, and started. I was anyways doing events, right? I was doing a lot of physical speaker sessions. Yeah. So I started posting about it on social media, and then I realized that now bolna to seekh liya hai, to ab really bana lete hain. So that's how I started. Yeah.
Awesome. And what are your goals? Like, I mean, like, do you have anything particular in mind?
Got it. I think for me, every platform has a different goal. Content has also become such dynamic, and the form of content that I'm posting is different. I'm not like repurposing content everywhere, right? I'm, like, creating different content pieces for different platforms. So for me, every platform is a different goal. For Twitter, I'm just there to have fun. I know that, okay, I'll post about IITs or I'll post about bits pilani. I know I'm here for fun, right? Yeah. I'm not there for a lot of things. I'm just having fun, not there for a specific purpose. On LinkedIn, now I have like become much more, of course, organized, because content Touchwood has been doing massively well on LinkedIn in the last month or so. So I've become much more organized that, okay, it has to be fun plus research, right? Where my goal is to connect with people as well. Yeah. But now that inspirational / motivational role has also come in the hindsight, people are looking at your content, right? And doing it. Abhi I just did a session in IIT, Byju. I just went like 1.5 weeks back. And I really am, I'm not making this up. Students from IIT Byju had made a group, right? Okay. Of mine, where they post my content pieces and discuss about that.
What? Wow. Okay.
And they told that this is there in Bits Pilani as well. This is there in IIT Bombay as well. This is there in IIT Delhi as well. Where there are groups of mine, they're discussing my LinkedIn posts, they're discussing my tweets, right? I hope they discuss my reels as well. My reels game.
But how is that feeling? Like, I mean, how do you feel? Like, I mean, when you heard that this is happening, this must have been like very, like, I mean, like, motivating feeling also for you, right? Like, to create
it is
and surreal feeling as well.
Yeah, how they introduced me in IIT Byju was, so today we have Aditya, who's called the FAAD guy. His today's tweet was, it's easier to find a girlfriend than find co-founder for your startup.
Oh, wow.
So,
Man.
so like, damn, they keep a tab of my tweets as well.
Yeah.
They keep a tab of my LinkedIn post as well. That, okay, Aditya posted about, let's say, how startups, how ITs are faring in terms of unicorns and startups, how different ITs are producing different unicorns. And Aditya is posting about that, so you should know. Right? So now it's become a motivational / education that you are delivering in the right piece. And now I'm spending more time on creating that content. So the goal is that. And Instagram again is now Instagram role I've evolved much more, because earlier to grow on Instagram for startups, as I told you as well, was the hardest, because A, it's a very technical topic, right? B is you hardly find any audience for startups on Instagram. You find meme pages, right? But I can't post memes, right? I run a VC firm, for goddamn sake. I don't want the founder to get offended by my meme and not take funds from me later on. So for me, Instagram now is, I think, more of course tutoring now. It's coming in the same role where I'm starting from scratch. So today I in fact posted a video on how to apply for funds from Startup India seed fund scheme. Right. So more getting back to basics. So now
it's very basic, because that's what's working. Like, I mean, like the audience there also want just like very basic stuff. They don't want very technical stuff.
Very basic. And I'm focusing now on aesthetics and how do I deliver. In written content, that was not the piece. Just wake up in your shorts and just write it.
And how's YouTube? Like, I mean, what are you doing in YouTube?
YouTube has been a mixed bag for me, because, it's a long form content. So you need to produce a lot of content videos before you actually get that critical mass on YouTube. That's the thing. And YouTube is a whole startup in itself, because you need to have a full house production team. Once you get that, you need to have a content writer who writes long-term videos. And nobody I found who's like understood startups in that way. Where it should be taught in that way. And even if they haven't found out a way to tell it in a simpler manner, which a YouTube audience would enjoy. So for me, I'm still not given up. But again, I've taken a pause. I think I'll take back and see how I can do more. But one smart thing I've done is I've integrated my YouTube links on other platforms. So till the meantime, you can follow me on YouTube.
Perfect. Yeah. Keep building your audience over there. What's that? Yeah. And like, how has creating content helped you in your investing journey? Because you mentioned like, I can't create like memes. A person wouldn't want me to, like, would get offended by that. Like, have people actually, and you mentioned like your furthest thing was that you invested on a company on a Twitter space, right? Has like, what do you have any story as such? Like creating content has helped you?
That, in fact, that was the gaming company that I spoke about, Esports Exo, which has now become one of the market leaders in the space that they are in. I think it has helped me. Not in terms of course, from LinkedIn perspective, of course, it's helped me get a lot of LPs for my companies, where people would want to understand about angel investing. And we've converted a lot of investors through that. So that's a good thing that has happened from a LinkedIn perspective, as was expected, right? So that's why my company gets very excited whenever I post out something on LinkedIn. Right. From a other standpoint, how it has helped is, one is it has given a lot of contacts, Rakshit, for me as well. It has taken the FAAD guy name to an international level as well. But just before this, in fact, I'm so excited to tell you, I did my first LinkedIn audio session room today.
Oh, wow.
So I did it with Disruptors Capital, where it's a foreign-based VC fund, right? The very big VC fund in US, starting out in India.
How's that experience? Like, how is LinkedIn audio?
Good, it was so seamless. Well, I'm not endorsing LinkedIn,
right?
But I haven't found this seamless experience in any platform that I've done an audio live in. So very seamless. So now, people are recognizing from international areas as well. I did a lot of international clubhouse rooms as well. So it's given me an international distribution. And FAAD is going international, so any time plug away international contacts through that. So from that, it has helped me. Instagram, I think it's not helped me, because barely find anyone who's quality oriented there. So But yeah, I think it's helping me. I will in some way or the other. The benefits of it sometimes even I may not realize.
True.
Yeah, how it is helping. But I think one thing I'll tell you.
Yeah.
We did our first event in Bombay, right?
Yeah.
In 7 years, we never did our event in Bombay.
Uh-huh.
And I did not realize that a lot of people would come there through my content to meet me at least. But it helped the company that 200 people joined for our very first event.
Wow. That's massive. Yeah.
So even if I know how did they got to know I was coming to Bombay, but it helped the company to get 200 people.
Exactly. Like, I mean, that's influence, right?
Yeah. And most of them, of course, are influencers too. Help the company so much. Right? So I think it's a good thing. You don't realize how it's helped.
Yeah. And so what is one learning that you've had as a creator?
Many. One is that content creation is also bit of a science, right? No matter we say ki bas khade hoke record hi to karna hai. But it's not just about recording. At the end of the day, people who say that I create content for myself, bro, you're lying 110%. Well, if you've been creating content for yourself, put that videos in private mode on YouTube.
Exactly.
Don't post it on public. Make it an unlisted video, right? Or do a Instagram only me feature, right?
Yeah.
Well, no offense to it, but at the end of the day, we're creating it for public. We're creating it for public, and we want good engagement to come out of it, which should be the case because we're putting in so much effort.
Yeah.
We are paying costs. Editors are editing. Oh, the whole team is involved. There's no one person. There's an entire team which goes behind a content piece, right?
Exactly.
So one is, and it's very important to analyze your content time to time because what may be working for you right now may not work. Let's say few years or few months later.
Down the line, actually.
Months down the line, because content has become such dynamic and monotonous content gets picked up very, very easily.
Yeah.
Right. Unless you come up with something exciting about IITs every now and then.
Yeah.
So analyze your content and take your learnings from it, whatever you can, and sit and discuss with other creators. There's no harm in discussing it with it. At the end of the day, competition se zyada collaboration.
It's this abundance of things. So like a competition also, kitna hi competition hoga. Like, I mean, it's not like it's, this person's going to eat away or thing, right? Like, I mean, you're making like, I don't see like two people, even in the same industry, making similar content, to be honest. They have their own style, they have their own thing. Even if it's the same topic, they have their own delivery method. So it's not like one person will eat away your reach or anything. That's not good. That's never going to happen. There's an abundance of like anything.
Absolutely.
Collaborate.
Absolutely. You look at lifestyle vloggers, right? You get millions of views. Like you can name 10 lifestyle vloggers who get 10 million views every now and then.
Going to the same place.
Same place.
They'll all go to Goa and they'll get 1 million views because of their like the different things that they capture, different things that they showcase. There's so much you can do. Yeah.
So much, man. So much. Yeah. You can cry over a cricket match and make millions of followers around it. So,
I know. The Pakistani guy,
Omil Saqib, right? So, there's so much you can do in content. But
Okay, before we end, I have a fun game which I forgot to bring right now. Just give me a moment. I'll just bring it. Yeah. Just give me a moment. Okay, perfect. So before we end, I have a fun game in which I have a few cards. I'm going to shuffle them and I'm going to ask you a question and you have to answer whatever card that comes up. You have to answer in 12 seconds or less. Okay. There'll be like 5 questions. That's it. Okay. So I'm going to flip cards and whatever question comes up, like you just have to answer that.
So name it cards with Rakshit.
That's called Rapid Brew. It's called Rapid Brew.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So name one album you could listen to without skipping a song?
I think it has to be uh, Backstreet Boys old songs.
Yes.
That on loop.
Love it. Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, I could just sit, I could play like old pop songs and like work all the time.
Absolutely. Every song. What a band. What a
Which is
band.
your favorite song from Backstreet Boys? Like, I mean, from the
Of
band.
course. I want it that way.
Yeah. Tell me why.
And I sing it with the Jake Peralta sort of
Yeah,
variation.
exactly. Oh man, chills, literal chills. And she like
And
that's the
out of
person who can. Yeah. Totally, dude. Okay, so what advice would you give to your younger self?
uh, invest in better people
Mhm.
and take care of your own mental health as well, which I kind of did not, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, invest in people who are genuinely care about your growth and your work.
And like, I mean, do you have anything like on how do you identify such people? Because there are so many people out there. Like, I mean,
Yeah, I think comes with spending more time,
mhm.
comes with situations, right, where, of course, a person supports you,
Mhm.
your work first, right? Your priorities, whatever your priorities are, that I think it comes with time, right? You get the
Got it.
test of time.
Yeah. Okay, next one. What's one skill that you are known for?
Stand-up comedy.
Really?
I wish I would have been known for.
Yeah. That's one something you wish you would be known for. Okay, all right, yeah. Are you doing that like on the side? Or do you
Yeah,
want to
like
do that?
side by side, I'm incorporating it in my sessions. Like
Uh-huh.
I did my own pieces tonight on this podcast, right? In some ways, I
Yeah.
delivered that punchline.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Okay. Okay, not this one. I have another one. Okay. What's one of your personal quirks?
quirks, मतलब थोड़ा explain कर quirks
I
as in.
love like something that you habitually do.
अच्छा, could be anything. मतलब
Anything. Huh.
personal quirks for me is talking to myself. I do that a lot.
Yeah.
मतलब
Yeah. Huh.
I don't know. मतलब sometimes I feel like Shri of cricket match. Something you have to go there and do this. Okay, ठीक है. ये आज ये करना, जो करना है. I don't know.
You feel much more calming, right? Like when you speak to yourself, rather than if someone else coming and giving you advice, rather than that, if you are telling yourself, "Acha, ye sahi ho jayega," like it's gonna be all right. You're more calmer when you do that.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
feel,
So do that
you
to a
feel me
lot to
personally. Yeah. Okay. What's one trend that you hope never comes back?
I think you mentioned TikTok.
Oh man. So you don't want that to come back.
I personally don't. I don't want Puneet Superstar to create more content.
Oh man, yeah, totally. There's this Instagram page called Emo Boys India. Oh God, I just see those TikTok like old TikTok content over there, and I cringe. It's too much. Yeah.
Either it has to TikTok or some real song, which has
Hmm.
probably eaten my head a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Man. Okay, like one final question. What's your favorite small business to support?
Favorite small business. It could be a type, right?
Yeah.
Type of business.
Huh.
I think for me, favorite small business is which gives food. I think food is another cause apart from education that's closer to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
That I work
No wonder
with.
chai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I worked with this company called Feeding India, which got acquired by Zomato.
Okay. Wow.
Very interesting. So they were basically kind of collecting waste or leftover food from marriages and distributing it to people. I think food for me is something because one thing I've realized that if you don't have food in your stomach, a lot of things don't make sense to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. So, okay. It was amazing having you in the podcast. I got to learn a lot personally, and like we went deep into content creation, startups, and your journey, and so many other things, and had a lot of fun, like with your jokes about IIT and this Bits Pilani and everything. So, what are your closing thoughts before you end? Do you have anything that you'd like to share to the viewers?
I think it was such a fun conversation. Did not realize that we were even speaking, right, or doing a podcast.
Yeah.
I think if this is how a podcast is done, I think we should have one every week. It kindly got off so relaxed after a long, stressful day.
Totally.
So yeah, I think to anyone who's watching it and everyone who's watching it, right? What I just want to say is that don't just skip this podcast for the skip for just like what you do with Spotify ads. Go ahead and find something from whatever you learn, right? You spend time listening to us all the way up till here. So find any one takeaway you had and just go out there and share it with people. Because I think personally for me and for Rakshit as well, I think we would all be delighted if it helps you in some way or the other, right? That's the reason for which we all sat together today. Kudos to you and love always the discussion with you. Yeah.
Thanks, man. Always. And if people want to find you, where do they find you?
Find me in some IIT. Find me in some IIT. Find me. I think social media is there. Kind of the FAAD guy now. I'm changing my name, Instagram handle name. My own handle's name to FAAD guy now that I've taken an IP for it as well. So yeah, I think you can find
FAAD guy everywhere.
FAAD guy everywhere. FAAD though.
Totally. And this thing, listeners, if you want to follow us on Brew Your Market, hit me up, just ping me and ask me any questions. Feel free. All right. It was fun talking to you, and I'll see you all in the next podcast. Bye-bye.